automatically drawn to it. Never met an enemy, and if they were, they would eventually be friends because they would eventually bond, and it's gonna be hard. He should be at football practice right now, calling me after practice, Dad, I made this play or I made that play, or I get a text with 3 or 4 videos of him doing this, running this route, making this block, and what you think? What you think I should do? And I will give my honest, because I always tell her, if anyone is going to be totally honest with you, it's going to be me. And it's not because I'm being mean, but people outside of your family are going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you what you need to know to make you better. It's going to be hard for our family from here on out. And like I said, every day is a challenge. We're going to miss our son. And like my wife said, we just want honesty. We want to know what happened to our son, because the things that you're telling us, that's not the character of our son. We know our son. I understand, our children would do things that, that would kind of dumbfound us sometimes, but the things that we're being told, there wasn't Nolan. So please keep us in your prayers, keep him in your prayers. And we're going to keep pushing and fighting until we find answers. Thank you guys for your love and support.
Thank you so much, Christine and Nolan. Christine and Elmore, Nolan's mother and father. Before we start to go over the preliminary findings from the independent autopsy, we will hear from Attorney Lisa Park to tell you about who was the forensic pathologist who conducted the autopsy. Attorney Lisa Park.
Thank you. Dr. Roger Mitchell could not join us today, but we felt it important before we reveal and unfold this report that you understand who conducted this autopsy. Dr. Roger Mitchell is a physician and board-certified forensic pathologist with 2 decades of experience. He currently serves as the president of the National Medical Association, which is the oldest and largest group of Black physicians in the U.S. Most recently, he also served as president of Howard University Hospital, chief medical officer of the Howard University Faculty Practice Plan, and chair of the Department of Pathology. Before joining Howard, he served as chief medical examiner for Washington, D.C. from 2014 to 2021, and later as interim deputy mayor for the Public Safety and Justice. Dr. Mitchell has conducted and managed thousands of autopsies and is nationally recognized for his work at the intersection of medicine, public health, and justice. For this case, we sought out the very best, and we are proud to be working with the very best.
Thank you, Attorney Park. I again want to express our gratitude to President Johnson, Chairman Russell, and the NAACP, because civil rights is more important than ever in the United States of America today. And so we thank you for the civil rights leaders stepping up to say that our children's lives matter now more than ever. And I want to thank all of you for getting up 8 in the morning. If people could see how many people are gathered here, they would say, you all are truly blessed to have the support of America, Christine and Elmore. And I want to thank the media for covering this matter because they don't always cover when our children are taken away from us in highly unquestionable ways. And I do understand there's a lot of news going on in America today. I woke up to them saying LeBron James is going to announce where he's going to play basketball next year. But I'm very happy that the media said this story is just as important. And I'm sure LeBron James and Rich Paul and Stephon Curry and Draymond Green, Jaylen Brown, Embiid, Maxey, Giannis, Bam, and many other players in the National Basketball Association will all agree that our children's lives are far more important than where LeBron or any other player will play next year. And so that's why I thank you all for being here, because this news is as important as any news in the United States of America, finding out why is Nolan Wells dead. And I want to thank you all who have called the call center. I want to thank Reverend Al Sharpton. I want to thank Mr. Tyler Perry. I want to thank Mr. Terry Owens for putting up the $125,000 reward for anybody out there who have
Hey everybody, welcome to Coffee Chat with Camille. If you're just joining us, here's a factual overview of Nolan Wells' case before today's press conference. The conference has started just now, and I think afterwards I'll give you all the facts of the case so far. And they're just introducing a lot of different people that have contributed to assisting the family with the autopsy, with funding, and all kind of wonderful things. Bless all their hearts. So we're just listening to civil rights attorney Benjamin Crump. Okay. So I'm going to get back to it.
somebody knows something. So, Scott S., we're trying to just make sure people understand that you can call the Nolan Wells tip line at bencrump.com. We will gladly listen to you, take any information as we try to put together this puzzle of what happened to Nolan Wells. And today, we're going to add some more parts to this puzzle. matter who it implicates or who it exonerates. We stand for justice, no matter who it convicts or it acquits. Yeah, and we stand for transparency because we got eyes that can see, and we don't need governmental officials having to narrate it for you and me. We can see it for ourselves. Transparency. That leads to the truth. The truth is the foundation for accountability and justice. And that's all we're seeking, as Christina Elmore said from day one. So with that, and Christina Elmore, you all want to say about those who begin to begin the preliminary findings of autopsy, we want to especially thank Mr. Colin Kaepernick for not thinking it robbery to pay for the autopsy. An autopsy will be provided for the media press at bencrump.com. So Dr. Roger Mitchell, board-certified forensic pathologist, performed a preliminary report on the death of Nolan Xavier Wells. He conducted and presented this report on July 19th, 2026. Preliminary report, second autopsy, death of Nolan Xavier Wells. Cause of death, undetermined, pending investigation. And we'll explain that as we go through the report this morning. The manner of death, undetermined, pending investigation. Statement of examination. This forensic pathologist was retained to perform a second autopsy examination on the body of Nolan Xavier Wells. Name of decedent, Nolan Xavier Wells, age 18 years old, race, black, gender, male. Date of death, unknown. Second autopsy date was performed on July 10th, 2026. Preliminary findings. This is significant. Focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region. He said the etiology is unknown at this time. He said the body was received after the initial autopsy. He said the body had marked decompensation. He said coronal incision of the scalp, brain removal, Y-shaped incision of the anterior torso, and he talked about the organs being removed, as is common, accompanied in the body cavity. And that when you have an autopsy, the organs are removed from the body and they are dissected and examined. And then they are put back in a bag within inside the body. So when they're buried, their remains will all be within. But in this occasion, if there's going to be a second autopsy, then the organs are put in the body cavity. So the second pathologist could be able to examine the organs as well. Very significant for Dr. Mitchell was that the anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body. And we'll explain that in just a minute. And then it talks about the additional procedures performed during the second autopsy, and we'll go into the paragraphs on that there, as he explains it there in his narrative. So, here's the first discussion. He talks in the preliminary discussion opinion. This forensic pathologist identified several limitations during the second autopsy that create barriers to establishing a definitive cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells. And that's important. He talks about the fact that we didn't get to see the body when it was first recovered, like the medical examiner working for Mississippi would have seen. He talked about the second autopsy performed on Nolan Wells revealed marked decompensation or changes. Marked decompensation can obscure the presence and absence of bruising on the skin surface, especially during a second autopsy examination. What he's saying, because the body was so decomposed that you couldn't tell if there was bruises or abrasions on the body when he received it on the 10th of July. For these reasons, additional dissection procedures not performed during the first autopsy examination were performed to rule out potential blunt force injuries responsible for the death. These procedures included facial dissection, posterior head and neck dissection, dissection of the ribs, the pelvic, dissection of the subcutaneous and deep soft tissue, dissection of the back, the buttocks, the arms, and legs. He did all of this to rule out things. He ruled out there were no fractures or deep tissue injuries identified. This was very important because he wanted to be very thorough and very transparent, because transparency is the key to getting to the answers of why Nolan Wells is not with us. So he did that there and was very straightforward, very open, very open. He says, however, dissection of the back of the head during the layered posterior neck dissection revealed a 12 by 8-inch focal area of red discoloration in the deep soft tissues overlaying the occipital bone. Okay. He talked about how he found red discoloration when he cut open into the back of his head towards the occipital bone, and he saw the red discoloration, and we actually saw the pictures of it. It's significant. You can't help but notice, why is this dark red here in the back of his head? And so he was important to note that in his report. He said that etiology of this finding is unclear. There are no lacerations of the overlaying skin nor fractures of the underlying skull. These findings are inconclusive for perimortem injury due to both the extensive decomposition and the absence of associated injuries. This finding, however, is significant enough to be highlighted in this preliminary report for further investigation. It is important to reiterate that the finding could not have been observed in the first autopsy because the posterior head and neck dissection were not performed. He said another limitation faced by this forensic pathologist was the absence of the anterior internal neck structures. The trachea and the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn, and the hyoid bone were not received with the body. So he's saying that the throat was not received with the body when he got Nolan Wells' body in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. And so let's discuss that with what he said about that. He said, it is assumed that the initial pathologist retained these structures for additional evaluation. He said the retention of the anterior neck structures during an initial autopsy is a common forensic pathology practice. He was chief medical examiner for 7 years in Washington, D.C., and he said that if they had concern about throat or any fracture or compression of the throat, they too will hold them back. He doesn't know why they held the throat back, but he said the throat was not with the body of Nolan Wells when he received it in Washington, D.C. to perform the second autopsy. He said, nevertheless, a posterior neck dissection performed without review of the anterior neck structures is incomplete. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death. He said he would need to have the medical examiner in Mississippi allow him to review the throat. That's why he said his autopsy is undetermined pending investigation. Remember, it's about transparency. Because the initial autopsy rightfully removed and dissected each organ there are additional limitations inherent in the second autopsy of Nolan Wells. The most significant of the limitations was the inability to directly observe the airway and the lungs for water and directly observe the stomach for gastric contents. He said it is very significant as to what the initial forensic scientists who got to review the body when it was recovered. We have heard from my call center people saying the body wasn't waterlogged. Well, we need to know those things. But unfortunately, because the body was decomposed and the organs have already been dissected, those are things we can only get from the initial autopsy. So therefore, again, the manner and cause of death is undetermined until further investigation. We are hopeful that the Mississippi Medical Examiner would give Dr. Mitchell an opportunity to see their photographs and their observations to the condition of Nolan Wells' body closer in time to July 4th. That is very important, and we have to continue to demand transparency, President Johnson. In addition, the original toxicology results have not been received at the time of this report. And we continue to wait for the toxicology to come back because, again, that will be part of the investigation into Nolan Wells' autopsy by Dr. Mitchell. It is significant to know that there's many things that go into toxicology that only Dr. Mitchell will be able to opine upon, and medical experts can opine upon. And he feels the proper place to do that is before a grand jury in a courtroom. And so we would hope that the district attorney would present Dr. Mitchell before the grand jury as well. We want all relevant information to be heard by the grand jury. Lastly, in cases where a death has occurred in or around a body of water, with suspicion of drowning, it is important to confirm how that person entered the water. This is the crux of the matter. This information is especially important for those deaths of persons who can swim. As in the case with Nolan Wells, at the time of this report, this forensic pathologist does not know the condition of Nolan Wells. He did not know whether he was conscious or unconscious when he entered the water. He said that would be significant. He said he did not know whether he was forced into the water or unforced into the water. He said that would be significant. So he said the condition of Nolan Wells before he entered the water would be the crux of the matter. It would be of utmost importance to being able to determine a cause and manner of death. He said, definitive circumstances of death are required to determine the manner of death. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out. Let me really call your attention to this. For these reasons, this pathologist cannot rule out if any intervening non-accidental factors contributed to or caused the death of Nolan Wells. Understand, he said based on the examination of the body, he cannot rule out foul play. That is significant. With the following questions still outstanding, number one, what were the circumstances that led to Nolan Xavier Wells entering the water? Number two, what was the body's position when it was found? We know that a member of the United Cajun Navy said that he was face down and he was fully clothed. Number three, was there water in the airway? Remember we talked about the lungs and the airways where they fill with water. Number four, is there any evidence of injuries to the anterior neck structure? We got the autopsy without his neck. We got the body without his neck at the time of the second autopsy. Number five, is there any evidence of any intracranial hemorrhage? He said that is going to be very significant. Things that he could not observe at autopsy that the initial medical examiner would have been able to observe. Number six, was the composition of what was the composition of the stomach contents? He talks about that being important because when was he found? How long had he been in the water? How long had it been since his last meal? All those things become relevant factors when you're trying to do a thorough and impartial autopsy. And number seven, what are the toxicology reports? He said the best classification again for the cause and manner of death for Nolan Xavier Wells is undetermined pending investigation. This forensic pathologist reserves the right to review and incorporate additional forensic pathology information into his opinion as it becomes available. He says the above opinions are expressed to a reasonable degree of medical certainty. Dr. Roger A. Mitchell, July 19, 2026. And we know that, as I said, this is only another part of the puzzle. And even though it tells us significant information, we still have more questions than we have answers at this time. And we will continue to press forward and persist, Christine and Elmore, with getting the answers to these questions. Because as you, yes, we will persist. Because as Christine and Elmore and Attorney Parker and I talked this morning, we know that there are so many conflicting stories. The fact that, she said, him being found face down. The fact that we have other videos where people who have called said that is Nolan, who is in some kind of dispute with others. We're looking at all of these things. The fact that the GPS tracking of the boat is being questioned by many. We're trying to dot every I and cross every T, because we understand that when our children's lives are at stake, it matters. Not just what happened, but what we do in the aftermath of them being taken away from us. And just like the NAACP stood up when another tragedy in Mississippi taking the life of young Emmett Till, we will stand up for Nolan Wells. Just like the NAACP and civil rights leaders stood up when another Mississippi son was taken in Medgar Evers. We will stand up for Nolan Wells. And just like too many of our young people, Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, Botham Jean, Terrence Crutcher, Stephon Clark, Sandra Bland, Atiana Jefferson, Alton Sterling, Eric Gardner, George Floyd, Tamir Rice, the young people who I was trying to focus on. Gary, we stand up until we get the truth, until we get justice for Nolan Wells. Justice for Nolan Wells.
Coffee chat with
Justice
Camille.
for Nolan Wells. Justice for Nolan Wells. Justice for Nolan Wells. Justice for Nolan Wells. We will ask if Christine and Elmore and President Johnson can come back and join us on the stage, and we will have you coordinate questions and answers for us or President Johnson or Attorney Park and I. I will say this: as President Johnson comes to the stage, I was sharing this with him and Chairman Russell, Christine Park. I know we should have you at the Department of Justice now. Christine Park. As I was sharing with President Johnson and Reverend Al and others, this is so important that we continue to talk about Nolan Wells and what happened to him, and that we get attention on him, because in getting attention on him, it brings attention, Cliff Jones, to other cases that are not getting their attention as of yet. But I'm so grateful to Christine and Elmore, because they said whatever we can do, not only to help our son, but to help these other young black boys who was killed the July 4th holiday. And I want to take a moment before we answer your questions to talk about two other young black men, both 18 years old, who were killed in extraordinary ways that are very similar to Nolan. President Johnson, 18-year-old Daniel Irvins, went on a fishing trip, out on a fishing boat with two other young men. He was the only black. It is alleged that he ended up accidentally drowning. But his two white friends got his cell phone and threw it away, got his clothes and threw it away, and then went and deleted all of their text messages with him and social media. Sounds familiar? And they've only been charged with tampering with evidence. And his mother is crying out that they should be charged with murder, because if they would lie about his cell phone and his clothes and deleted messages, then they will lie about what really happened to Daniel Irvin. And then there's the matter of President Johnson, Christine Clark, of 18-year-old Tyler Smith. Tyler Smith, on 4th of July, was at a house party with about 10 other people. He was the only black person at the house. He somehow ends up shot in the head, dead. Some of the friends get rid of the gun. The police show up. They tell the police it was an accident. It was an accidental shooting, that they were playing Russian roulette. And Tyler Smith ended up getting killed. And apparently, Christine Clark, President Johnson, the police just took their word for it. His mother and grandmother are incensed. They asked the police, did you do a gunshot residue test on his hands? And the reason they said they had to call us, like Daniel Irvin's and Nolan Xavier's family, because the police told them, President Johnson, that there was no need to do gunshot residue on his hands or any of the other people in the house, because I don't understand this logic, but they said if they were playing Russian roulette, then all of them would have gunshot residue on their hands. So we don't need to do gunshot residue tests. It makes no sense whatsoever. So they're taking the word of these 10 people that your son just killed himself. And you don't have to worry about doing any investigation or testing forensically anything. Just take our word for it. Now, can you imagine in any 3 of these scenarios had the survivors been young black men and they were with a young white man and he ended up dead? What kind of investigation would that have been? What kind of interrogation would that have been? Would they have ever been able to see the light of day until those questions were answered? Well, just like you would do a thorough investigation for your children, we want you to do a thorough investigation for our children. We don't want anything special. We just want equal justice. Equal justice. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Ron to lead us.
Well, a few questions. We have my colleagues on either side with microphones. Please announce your name and your media outlet if you have any questions. We'll be quick because we have other programming going on in real time. We'll get first.
Hi, everybody. Samantha Chapman, ABC 7 Chicago. You just unveiled a comprehensive outline of the independent report. Can you summarize for our viewers? Because there's a lot to take in, a lot of information. So in summary, can you succinctly tell us what we can take away from this report? And also, if you can provide more details about the neck.
Yeah.
I heard a lot of people behind you gasping when that detail was mentioned.
Yeah, let me try to be very comprehensive. As Dr. Roger Mitchell said, that the focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region, is significant. because he cannot determine why you have that red discoloration in the back of his brain. That's significant. He also talked about just the fact that as it's common practice, he was missing his throat when they received the body. And he wants to know why they held it back. He's not drawing any conclusions, but he said he would want to examine it if there were neck fractures or compressions to the neck. And he thinks that's significant to know at autopsy. The reason he says he would hold it back when he was medical examiner because he thought that there may have been some issues with neck fracture. The last thing that is significant is what we said before about him, the condition of his body when he went into the water. Was he conscious or unconscious? Was he forced or unforced into the water? He said those things are very significant. But he started off talking about this red discoloration in the back of his head is something that was of great concern to him. Thank you.
We'll go here.
Gerald Denard with Chicago Speaks on V103. What specifically are you calling for from Mississippi authorities in terms of transparency, or more importantly, investigation?
I know President Johnson is from the state of Mississippi, and the Mississippi Conference president is here. They're calling, as we are, for a fair, impartial, comprehensive investigation. When Nolan's parents heard the sheriff say there's no foul play at the beginning of the investigation, that is cause for concern, major concern. You haven't even investigated, but you're saying no foul play. And so we want them to dot every I and cross every T. You know, we had a meeting with the district attorney, and we expressed to them about our lived experiences. The fact, and you know, they said that's not what happens in her office, but we said we believe if the roles were reversed and there were 3 young black 18-year-olds and there was a white 18-year-old who was with them and he ended up dead, we don't believe that those young black men would not have been interrogated to the full extent of the law. We believe that it would not have been a choice whether they were going to cooperate with law enforcement if their lawyers and them were going to cooperate. No, they would have been held until they gave answers. They would have been held until they explained the cell phone in their possession. They would have been held until their cell phones have been examined. And so whatever you would do, had the roles been reversed, we want you to do the same thing for Nolan Wade.
We have time for one more question, and then we're going to have a prayer with our Religious Affairs Committee with the family. One more question here. What's there?
I'm Tiffany Walden with the Charter in Chicago. I know that we're talking about a transparent investigation, but for families and people who are watching, can you kind of give a breakdown or a timeline to the best of your ability of the contact that you've had with Mississippi authorities or Ocean Springs authorities or the Cajun Navy? Have you all talked to them? Do they call you after the initial autopsy? Is it just radio silence from them? Do you have to call them? Can you kind of walk us through that process?
The last time we actually spoke with local authorities, which would be the Sheriff's Department, was I think a day or two after his body was found. That was only initiated by me. I sent him a text message I was like, hey, this is Christine, Nolan's mom. I just want to see if there are any updates. Basically, he called back. There were no updates. He's like, we're still interviewing. And again, my concern, and also my husband's concern, was it was not even an hour that his body had been removed. And the sheriff came out and said, this is, accidental drowning. We don't think there's foul play. Again, that is why we're doing what we're doing and why we're moving the way we are. Because I sat there and asked them, please take this case as if this is your child, your family member, your whatever. And they promised that they would, but when you make statements like that straight out the gate, that's an issue. We did meet with the DA. She did promise, transparency and all of this, all of that. However, damage has already been done because now that's the narrative that's being pushed by the general public, who again, know nothing really, only what they're hearing from other people. So in addition to that, it's all these things coming up. And at the end of the day, like I said before, any parent that would be in this situation, you would do anything to find out what happened to your child. And that is what we're here to do.
It is very important to note that this narrative, this suggestion that it was an accidental drowning, nothing to see here, is troubling, even if that's the case. There were 300 to 400 people out on Horns Island. You mean to tell me nobody saw anything? Nobody can tell us anything about what happened to one of the few black people that were out there on that island that day? It just doesn't add up. The fact that they're saying Nolan said that he would stay behind, but yet an 18-year-old kid would not want his cell phone if he was going to stay behind. The fact that, you have the young lady saying that he said he was going to get back on the boat with the boys, and then the boys saying no, he said he was going to stay behind and talk to her. If that was the case, don't you believe Nolan would have said, give me my cell phone, I'm going to stay behind. Give me my car keys, I'm going to stay behind. It's not adding up. And so we're going to keep fighting and digging until we get the answers, the transparency, the truth, the accountability, and justice for Nolan Wells. 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 Justice for Nolan Wells.
Justice for Nolan Wells.
Justice for Nolan Wells.
Justice for Nolan Wells. We're going to have our Religious Affairs Committee join us quickly so we can have a quick word of prayer with the family, and that will conclude our press conference formally.
Good morning. It's a good morning in spite of all that we have heard. It's a good morning because we're here for justice. Reverend Wendell Anthony, Detroit branch, and also a member of the National Board of Directors and part of the Religious Affairs Committee, joined by colleagues who are here. I'm going to ask all of you if you would be so kind as to just link arms. Just link arms so that we can link ourselves around this particular moment and around this family. There's an old African proverb that says, those whom we love die only in the physical sense, but their spirit continues to live on in the will and determination of those whom they leave behind. Mr. and Mrs. Wells, I did not know your son. But I could tell from just looking at his photograph, I can feel the aura, the joy that you talked about. we all can experience and feel that. Ben Crump has chronicled the list of pain moments in our community by the deceased, by those who are now martyred. We have been dying since 1619, still seeking justice. Pray with me. O Lord, our Lord, how very excellent is thy name in all the earth. We are here for but one reason: to answer the question, what does the Lord require of us? But to do justice, to love mercy, to even walk humbly with our God. Lord God, your people are here seeking justice. We're here for transparency. We're here for truth. You who are the way, the truth, and the life. We're here because of you. Lord God, how long must we continue to pay evil a toll at the gateway towards justice? How long must we see our children lie bleeding in the streets, in the sand, in the water, and the asphalt pavements of this nation that we built, even on July the 4th, a day that serves a lesson in mockery and dichotomy? Where we talk about independence, yet we are not independent from those who seek justice. Help us, Lord. Bless us right now. Bless this family. Cover this mother whose tears fall down her cheeks. Cover this father as he remembers his son, whom he taught, whom he mentored, play in life, but more importantly, to play the game the way it should be played in living. Lord God, we thank you so much. We've gone down the road. They lied on Martin. They lied on Medgar. They lied on Malcolm. But more importantly, oh God, they lied on you. You who know about lies. We know that the truth shall eventually set us all free. Help us to get the truth, even in Mississippi. Oh Lord, help us to get the truth for our children. You know, like we know, there are more black boys in school than are in jail. We know, oh God, that there are more of us who are striving for the benefit of life rather than the poison from living. Oh Lord, how long will justice continue to lift up her brow so that she can see who is standing before us, so she can make a decision that is not in our interest, but in the interest of those who seem to be different from us? Help us, Lord. Don't we as a people bleed like everybody else? Don't we as a people need comfort like everybody else? Don't we as a people need justice like everybody else? Don't we as a people feel the pain when our children are taken from us like everybody else? Help America, Lord, because America has a problem. We don't have a problem. America has a problem. Fix the problem. In 250 years, we still seem to suffer from the same old problem. Fix America, oh God. Fix justice, oh God. Fix us, oh God. Fix Mississippi, oh God. Fix those who are standing at the gate There are 12,000 people who are looking at this press conference on YouTube. That was 30 minutes ago. There were 14,000 people who are looking at it on the roofs. That was 30 minutes ago. Ben Crump, this ain't no secret. The nation is looking for justice.
For media who would like a digital copy of the report, you can look at bencrump.com, and we should have a digital copy there. You can also contact Saks Media.
Okay. Yep. Well, there we have it. An hour later. And hold on, let me make sure my sound is on. Yeah, that was very interesting. We did receive a lot of information. And so I'm going to go ahead and go into the details and welcome here, everybody. Today was the press release for an update on the Nolan Xavier Wells investigation, and specifically the independent autopsy that is being done by the family's attorney, civil rights attorney, Ben Crump. And what they're urging is that if you have any information, to please go to bencrump.com and report what you see or know possibly about the disappearance and unfortunate demise of Nolan Xavier Wells. Okay, his family just wants answers, wants to understand how their son could go out onto an island that he had frequented with the same people, and was the only one not to come back alive of his associates, or otherwise known as friends at the time. What do we know? Well, we know that Nolan Xavier Wells was an 18-year-old, recently a high school graduate and college football player from Ocean Springs, Mississippi. It's my understanding that this very small place has about 19,000 residents. And I'm not for certain about the FBA body count out there, but it looks like there's been a few other than Nolan that has mysteriously drowned. And then on the 4th of July, Nolan traveled by private boat with his friends to Horn Island, which is a barrier island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast, to celebrate Independence Day. Nolan did not return with the group. He was reported missing, and a multi-agency search involving the U.S. Coast Guard, also I think they're called the U.S. Cajun Navy, and other agencies began. So U.S. Coast Guard or U.S. Cajun Navy, but they were really out there looking. As a matter of fact, they said Nolan's grandfather said that they had drones out there and everything, couldn't find him. Okay, so let's keep moving. Nolan did not return with the group. His body was found 2 days later near Horn Island. Authorities conducted an official autopsy, but the final autopsy and toxicology results have not yet been publicly released. Well, we have now the independent autopsy. Okay. And I think so it was conducted on July 10th, excuse me. Yes, July 10th. Okay. and officially came back July 19th, I think. Nolan's family retained, as I stated earlier, attorney Ben Crump, and requested an independent autopsy, which we just finished watching the press conference. And they want additional answers and greater transparency. Now, when they're asking for the greater transparency, they're actually talking about in their local state. The locality is Ocean Springs, and for the local authorities to please release the autopsy and let them know what's going on with the investigation. So they're just asking for transparency about the death of their son. Today, Ben Crump and the Wells family, okay, yes, they just did it. And they were also, the press conference that we just watched was at the NAACP National Convention in Chicago. Okay. Now, what's important about all of this? At this time, the official investigation does remain active. No official cause or manner of death has been publicly released by the Mississippi State Medical Examiner. We will report, or I have, when confirmed information announcing during today's press conference, and avoid speculation or spreading unverified rumors. Yeah, a lot of people are just running with their own opinions and all that, and that's okay, but this is an open investigation. It's very sensitive, and it seems like, I don't know what's going on with Americans, but, and I mean FBAs as well, we just don't seem to be very sensitive when there's loss, to when people pass away or die, or who transition, or they're unalived. There is just some kind of peculiar desensitivity. There's no sensitivity to the fact that the Nolan's parents have lost their oldest son. And I know a lot of folks talk and TikTok and all that. Those are not official places. Those people, a lot of them don't have any kind of scruples whatsoever, and they just run off saying any old thing they want to, and they don't really know anything. So it's really smart for all of us to just stick with the official authorities and let them, authority figures who the parents are trusting, not, the back and forth about who knows what, who knows who, and blah, 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 because that's not helping, and it's not bringing the answers or relief to the parents. All they want to know is what happened to their magnificent son, and why was his life snuffed out of all those 300 hillbillies? How did his life end up taken? That's it. So please, okay, moving on. Also, I did want to bring up that the funeral and national support, hundreds of family members, friends, classmates, teammates, community members, and civil rights leaders gathered at Center Point Community Church in Ocean Springs, Mississippi, to celebrate the life of Nolan Xavier Wells. That was this past weekend. I think it was Saturday, which was July 20th. During the service, Reverend Al Sharpton delivered the eulogy, and he also was calling for a thorough, transparent investigation into Nolan's death and urging anyone with information to come forward. Filmmaker Tyler Perry partnered with Reverend Al Sharpton to establish a $100,000 reward for information leading to an arrest and conviction. The reward consisted of $50,000 from Al Sharpton and $50,000 from Tyler Perry. Perry also helped cover the cost of Nolan's funeral. Former NFL star Terrell Owens later contributed an additional $25,000, increasing the total reward to $125,000. for information that helps investigators solve the case. According to the family and their attorney, former NFL quarterback Colin Kaepernick funded the family's independent autopsy, which is expected to be discussed today. And they discussed it briefly during the press conference at the 117th NAACP National Convention in Chicago. Notable attendees: Reverend Al Sharpton, attorney Ben Crump, filmmaker Tyler Perry, former NFL star Terrell Owens, filmmaker Spike Lee. Their involvement has helped bring national attention to the case while encouraging witnesses with information to come forward. Family's message, that Nolan's parents described him as compassionate, respectful young man who loved his family, excelled academically and athletically, and dreamed of playing professional football. During the funeral, they vowed to continue seeking answers and justice regarding these circumstances surrounding his death. Okay? So that was just a synopsis of what's been going on for those of you who do not know about Nolan Xavier Wells' investigation and some of the details as to what happened to the young man. And unfortunately, his beautiful spirit is not with us anymore, or body rather, but his spirit is with us, obviously. And I can appreciate, and I want to say this as a matter of opinion of my own, I appreciate what Ben Crump and Reverend Al Sharpton are doing. You know, I think it's commendable, and I think it is magnificent that they have such national and international name recognition. And hopefully, even though you're dealing with Mississippi, worst state in the nation, it is historically the worst state in the nation as it pertains to that Klan stuff. So, I was just hoping, I said, maybe he just slipped and fell or something. That's just really what I was thinking. It's like, but we don't know. And I'm not going to sit here and ponder all that. That's too taxing. 1, 2, I didn't personally know the young man or his beautiful family. But I just do hope that they receive the justice that they deserve, that he deserved, and the answers. Okay. I did want to also mention from the press conference that, so there was no neck provided with the body when it was sent from Mississippi to D.C., to Washington, D.C. But let's see. And they were actually looking to see if there was any intracranial hemorrhaging to the back of his head, but he did have some form of bruising in the back of his head, unfortunately. And then there's no original toxicology report. The coroner, independent autopsy, the coroner's name was, I wrote his name down, his name was Dr. Roger A. Mitchell. Dr. Roger A. Mitchell. He wanted to know if anything happened to Nolan before he entered the water, whether he was forced or not. And then said there was a focal area in the back of the head. Yeah, back of the brain that had some kind of probably contusion. Okay, want to know if he was conscious or unconscious when he entered the water. Yes, and if he was forced into the water. Okay, and then what was the composition of the stomach? What were the circumstances? And they found, oh, okay, the Cajun Navy said that they found Nolan face down, fully clothed. Yeah. So, as of now, the cause of death and manner is undetermined because there were significant things missing from the Mississippi authorities to Washington in order for the independent autopsy to be conclusive, right? Fully conclusive. So, yep, this is going to be a while. And what I do know about slow states is they have no problem dragging things out to protect themselves, unfortunately. States, cities, they all do it. Come on up here to Central Valley. You'll see what I'm talking about. Everything is slow. A lot of DEI hires the real ones. And everything's real slow. And, well, we don't know. Let's take our time. Let's not jump to conclusions. No, they're just so. Anyway, so couldn't have happened in a worse place as far as I'm concerned. Shouldn't have happened at all. But, it did. And just kind of sickening when you think about it because, our life should not be snuffed out because of people just having a total disregard for humanity. But it happens all the time. And especially if you keep all these inbreds running around in United States. Because that's what they do, a lot of that. And that can cause a lot of that, coldness where they just don't care. And, it don't really matter. And, it's real sad. We should really learn how to love and care about one another in a real genuine way. And the press conference was a little bit much. All I was thinking about were the parents standing there. Was Nolan, beautiful parents standing there, grieving parents. And I just wish, if I could say this, that Attorney Crump and all the leadership and stuff, if they could save a lot of the rallying cries for a separate occasion, for this particular press conference, the interest was specifically in the autopsy. Then if they want to, do a rallying cry, just go around the nation and, just call a rallying cry for Nolan. Do that. But why would you kind of get up there and make it into like a whole church session? Like, come on. So that's a little bit much for me. I'm just saying. I don't know about you all, but I really just stick to what's going on and be truly sensitive to the parents' great loss. Great loss. I looked right ahead. I said, oh my God, why? Why they keep harming our beautiful upper middle class young men? I just don't get it. Everybody harms FBAs who are middle class to upper middle class. I just don't get it. Got your pants hanging down, talking crazy, looking crazy. Nobody cares. But it's just the weirdest thing. We really have to look out for one another. So I'm thinking about starting a buddy program Because, after all this is resolved, we still have to come up with solutions. All I hear, every podcast I listen to, I never hear any solutions. A lot of, oh, this is just the way it is. You know how them folks are, blah, blah, blah. Where are the solutions, folks? We need to start truly looking out for one another, creating buddy groups where we escort one another to and fro, and we don't go anywhere alone. I don't know what this is about, especially our beautiful young men and women. They sitting here thinking they're safe because they have their phone. He had his phone. Look what happened. Right? Phone is not going to save you. We have to learn to look out for each other. And I'm not preaching. I'm teaching. And I promise you, the quicker we start to look out for each other, stop judging each other and being silly and ridiculous, because our lives literally depend on it. There are people who are just not about us, no matter if we're wonderfully well-spoken, kind-hearted, peaceful. They don't even understand any of that. So what we have to do is really start looking out for each other, especially when it comes to classism. And this is just what I think, So hopefully I can get this buddy program started and see if I can get the funding for it, because I'm always fundraising for something right through now. And, we have to get solutions. I remember, I'm going to give you something that happened to me while I was in the hospital. And a lady who was from India, she told me when she saw Trump become president that in her community they had a talk that they would escort each other from work, from school to the store. They go in groups. We just sitting out here like we the number one targeted. FBAs are number one targeted for hate crimes. Go to the FBI website and read the report. Number one, it's not Asians. Okay? Not them. It's us. And it's very, very sad that we don't take that seriously. Right? Nobody's taking that seriously. That's very serious. And the number one killers are those whites. They're the number one. Their number is double FBA in the FBI report. I'm going to bring that to you so you can look at it and see it. It's public information. So when they're sitting there calling up Tariq Nasheed and harassing him and harassing FBA men and women, I got news for you. You folks are the number one in our country. Your numbers are double FBA's numbers, which I already knew because you're the minority. So stop all the inbreeding, get off the drugs. And get it together. Find something else to do instead of harming FBA people. Find something better to do. Now, you know what the other real sad part is, folks? A lot of us related to them. Look at go do your DNA. Go look. You're going to find out that the zaddies and all those people you guys are talking about are related to you. Not the PWTs. I'm talking about the higher up ones. That's also what they upset about. Yeah, real upset. Especially the poor they are. So all I'm going to say is please be careful. Start walking in groups, young people. Look around. Pay attention to your environment. Ask your real friends to go with you places. Travel in 4, 5, even if it's relatives, your cousins. All y'all travel together when you go to the store. Quit walking in to places alone. If you want to prevent, it's strength in numbers. You can't do nothing just out there, can't defend yourself. And then look how they all group together and shut their mouths. They see everything, but say nothing. That's why you can't move to them places. I mean, you can. Don't get me wrong, but you have to know how to move in them kind of places, right? And you shouldn't move alone ever, never, never, never. Don't go out your house neither, because they always staring. They nosy. They always staring and looking at what you're doing. Okay, because they're very jealous and insecure people. At the end of the day, I mean, only FBA men hold them women and stuff in high regard. Their own men don't even really like them like that. Okay, I noticed that. Only FBA men. She could be swinging on the pole. He ready to marry her, right? They always have so much smoke for FBA women. But mothers are racism, fathers are racism. We gotta stop this stuff. It's really horrific. It's horrific. You should be ashamed of yourselves. Harming young people. Telling your children to harm young people like it's okay just because they look different than you. Right? Just because, what's that other one? They love to bring up slavery. I said, look, ain't no shame in being a slave. It's a shame in being the oppressor. Ain't no shame in that. You're not shaming me. I'm quite proud of my ancestry and lineage. You should be ashamed of yourself. That's what you should be ashamed of. You're not going to shame me, though. They didn't do anything wrong. Your folks did. And a lot of you didn't own nothing because you didn't have no money. Your folks didn't have money. Most United States, these folks don't have any money like that. They all work. They working class poor. They put their children to work. They do all kind of crazy stuff to their kids. That's why they're all mean. Like a lot of them are very mean. That is the reason. They're not being treated well in the home. Hypocrisy is real. I don't do the whole Christianity thing. I do read the Bible, but I am a Zen Buddhist, and I read the Bible faithfully. I'm going on to the Quran and the Torah. I'm just going to do me, understanding religion, what it really says in doctrine, not what people make up. So anyway, I do wish the family lots and lots of progress. It's going to be a long, slow journey. Very long, slow journey. When the cameras leave and all the publicity leaves, they're going to be left still without their beautiful son and adjusting to a whole new way of living. So they're going to always need support. And I'm very concerned that I don't hear a lot of Asians saying anything, but I know they're probably scared of being deported and everything. But I just wish they would support Christine, especially if you're Filipino. I believe that's what she is, the type of Asian she is. And I wish you guys would support her. But you all have been cutting up so much here, so, it is what it is, unfortunately. But FBAs have always been on the right side of history. Always been on the right side. Okay? So don't ever get that twisted or confused, because we like to down one another. Some kind of weird, I don't know what that mess is about. You shouldn't down a group. You should down individuals that don't act right. They have to be checked. That's it. And go on. Not to hold grudges or anything. Just check them and go on. That's the way to get along. So I do, like I said, wish the family lots and lots of success on this very slow investigation. And I just shake my head. This time period now is like a repeat of what I used to read about. I wasn't even born in the 60s, Dr. King, Malcolm, and all that. I had to read Malcolm X on my own. I read, I think it was written by Alex Haley. I think he collaborated with Alex Haley. And I read the book twice. It was so powerful. Malcolm X was on point, totally on point, completely on point. Not to say that Dr. King was not, but I think there was some naivete, a little bit, about the economic side of the civil rights movement. Some, but he made a lot of change. He made a lot of change. And he did it with somebody like Lyndon B. Johnson out of Texas, who used the N word like it was his name. Right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This episode, I believe it's 207, season 12, 207. It's just an update on the Nolan Xavier Wells investigation. Cause of death is undetermined, and I gotta go because I'm a little tired. So thank you for watching. I think I see a few folks in there. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you. Please like and subscribe. Subscribe and like when you leave. I'll try to be back later because I kind of want to do like a movie review on Mississippi Burning. I was going to do like Mississippi Goddamn, but then I decided maybe I should just do Mississippi Burning, the movie review. Because I heard people kind of talking about it. And then I want to do something up, So then I'll try to do something more up too. Right? So hey, thank you for watching Coffee Chat with me. I appreciate you. Please like and subscribe and share. And if you want to advertise or anything, just contact me at Coffee Chat with Camille. Coffee Chat with Camille at gmail.com. All right. No hate. Don't send me any hate. It's going to get deleted. No hate comments ever. Hate don't belong here. It doesn't go here. Only positive, high energy, honesty. Honesty. Okay? Name calling, all that stuff is out. Yeah, don't attack me for my views. They're just opinions. All right? They're opinions. And you do know that opinions can be changed too, right? So, all right. Take care, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.